I'd like to introduce Rick Lancaster. He is the Vice President of Generation for Great River Energy. In this role, he's responsible to oversee the operations and maintenance of GRE's electric generating plants. Rick has been with Great River Energy more than 20 years. Please welcome Rick Lancaster.
Good evening. Thank you, Mr. President. As Dale said, I'm Vice President of Generation at Great River Energy. I'm also a member of Lake Country Power. My wife and I own a cabin on Blackface Lake in the Jacobson area, and I'll be staying there tonight, so it's really a pleasure to be here, both as a representative of Great River Energy and as a member. A little bit about Great River Energy. We have 28 member cooperatives. Lake Country Power is one of them. There are 660,000 members of the 28 GRE member cooperatives. There's about 1.7 million people who live in the homes that we serve. We're the fourth largest generation and transmission cooperative in the nation. We have 910 employees in Minnesota and North Dakota, and 3,718 megawatts of generation, of which 710 megawatts are renewables. And to give you an idea of how large a megawatt is, a typical house uses 5 to 10 kilowatts, and there are 1,000 kilowatts in a megawatt. Our generation resources consist of baseload plants in the form of 3 coal plants in North Dakota, a biomass plant that burns garbage in Elk River, Minnesota, peaking plants in Minnesota that burn natural gas and fuel oil, and wind resources that we receive through purchase power contracts. Our newest power plants, as Greg mentioned, are solar projects that will total up to 650 kilowatts. The first one was built at our Maple Grove, Minnesota headquarters. It's a 250 kilowatt plant. It came online June 1st of last year. And then we're building 20 kilowatt installations at 19 locations throughout Minnesota, including the one in Grand Rapids, which I have a picture of right there. The nameplate output is 19.8 kilowatts direct current. It was made by Silicon Energy. The panels were made by Silicon Energy in Mountain Iron, Minnesota, and the contractor was Energy Concepts. It came online in commercial operation March 1st of 2015. It actually started producing energy earlier than that, but we had some metering and some technical problems, and we got good data starting March 1st, which I'll show you right here. We like to look at capacity factor in our industry. Capacity factor is what you'd get out of a power plant if it ran every hour of every day of the year. And of course, a solar plant's not going to do that because it doesn't work at night. So the highest capacity factor you could get over the course of a year out of a solar plant is about 50%. What we got in March out of the Grand Rapids facility was 12%. And in April through April 25th, we got 15.8%. We're expecting about a 14 to 15% capacity factor over the course of a typical year. And the cost of that, including the incentives, which we take advantage of through a leasing program with a cooperative bank called CoBank, the cost of the solar electricity is 16.4 cents per kilowatt hour. Now I like solar energy, but it's not the same as our baseload power plants or our other power plants. What you see here on the left is what you kind of expect from a solar energy plant. The sun comes up in the morning, and then you get a nice bell-shaped curve. It peaks around noon or maybe a little after noon if there's daylight savings time, and then tails off in the evening. But what you see on the right is what's been more typical for us. About 94% of the days, at least in Maple Grove, have that kind of spiky appearance. There's a lot of partly cloudy and partly sunny days in Minnesota, and it's surprising how quickly the solar energy falls off when just a cloud passes between the collector and the sun. There's a bill in the legislature this year that would require 40% renewables would require us and other electric utilities to have 40% renewables by 2030. We're already required to be at 30% by 2025, and we think that's sufficient. This graph is one reason why we think 40% would be too much. That and the fact that we already have a lot of renewable energy. We have 468 megawatts of wind energy. We have our waste-to-energy plant in Elk River that's qualified as renewable energy under Minnesota law. And we also get hydropower from Manitoba and from the Western Area Power Administration. We've been making investments in the power grid. The larger ones are called CapEx 2020 projects. They're expansion of the power grid to ensure reliable and affordable service. There have been 5 projects in Minnesota, over 700 miles of line, and completion of the last one is expected next year. We have very innovative employees at Great River Energy. We've invested in opportunities to support our core business. An example is Spiritwood Station, a coal plant that came online last year in North Dakota. It's the most efficient coal plant in North Dakota. It's a combined heat and power plant, meaning it makes electricity. It also provides steam to steam customers. And it's so efficient that it'll help North Dakota meet the requirements of the Environmental Protection Agency's Clean Power Plan, a rule that they proposed last year to reduce emissions of CO2 per megawatt hour of electricity. Across the street from Spiritwood Station is a new biorefinery called Dakota Spirit Ag Energy. It'll make ethanol from corn. It'll also make corn oil and distiller dried grains, which is a feed product for livestock. And one of the things we're most proud of is our dry fining technology. It dries coal for Coal Creek Station and for Spiritwood, and it also removes mercury and sulfur, so it makes those power plants more efficient, therefore they emit less CO2, and also they emit less sulfur dioxide and less mercury. Our 2014 financial results were good. We had a margin of $52 million. That margin is the difference between revenue and expenses, and that gets allocated to our members, including Lake Country Power. Our credit ratings were all affirmed. We're A- at Standard & Poor's and Fitch, and we have a similar rating from Moody's. And we have a program at Great River Energy called a Business Improvement Program, where we encourage our employees to submit suggestions that make us safer, more efficient, and reduce our costs. We reduced our costs by $17 million last year because of that business improvement program, and we have a cumulative total of $228 million in business improvements since we began the program in 2002. We have a triple bottom line at Great River Energy. We need both reasonable rates and reliable service, and we protect the environment. We're able to do all three, and we're able to do it with your support, which we appreciate very much. And finally, Mr. President, I have here a check for $1,000 from Great River Energy. It's a donation to Lake Country Power's Operation Roundup. Awesome. Thank you very much.